Hi everyone. How are you today? Welcome. My name is Tara, your resident harmony nerd, and this is Frequency Friday on Saturday because I was busy yesterday. For those who don't know me, I'm a professional singer based in New York City, as well as a music educator, composer, and content creator. And these sessions that I do every week are sessions geared at internal work, right? So there's a lot that goes into being a singer, whether you're a professional or a karaoke star, or you do it for fun, or maybe you just love music because it touches you, it reaches you in some way. However, putting yourself out into the world that we live in, the society that we live in, hi Val, nice to see you today, can be painful. It can be really hard. Um, there's a lot of different reasons for that, and we can totally talk more about it together. Um, but I realized that when I started teaching singing many years ago, that my primary function as a singing coach, at least the way I operate, I like to consider myself like a holistic singing teacher and vocal coach. I learned really quickly that even more importantly than teaching singing technique um, was teaching confidence and belief in oneself and how to grow as a human and how to develop our capacity to hold ourselves even in challenging moments. So I think I'm going to have to shut the window. All the construction noise is really distracting me. So just give me one moment, please. Okay, fantastic. So, hi everybody, welcome. um, and what we're going to talk about today is something called internal family systems. This is a book called No Bad Parts by the creator of Internal Family Systems, a therapist called named Dr. Richard Schwartz. And we'll get into this in a moment, but a companion to No Bad Parts that has really helped me is the shadow work journal that you've probably seen all over TikTok. I feel like it was really popular maybe about a year ago, but still a goodie. So, all right, let's get into it. Um, these sessions, I don't like to shy away from difficult things, okay? And if you're dealing with something that is really hard for you and it's something that you would like to work through or know that you're not alone with, you're welcome to share in the comments. Or if you want to come on the multi-guest and talk, we can do that. People are silly says if therapy works, then why don't you diet or gym? I don't think I understand the question. I feel like you're just being inflammatory, so I'm going to mute you for a minute. Okay? If you. All right. Cool. All right. So, welcome everybody. How's everybody feeling today? Let's start there. We got 9 people hanging out on TikTok and a couple people hanging out on YouTube. Yes. Happy International Women's Day to you as well. Is that Jamie or Jamie? Forgive me if I pronounced it incorrectly. Welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Cool. Hi, welcome. Thank you for the likes. Okay. So, internal family systems, let's start to talk about it a little bit. Internal family systems is, it's a, oh, what would I use to call it? I would call it a therapy technique. Has anybody ever heard of this before? You can let me know in the comments. So, internal family systems is a process in therapy in which we work with all of the different parts that exist within ourselves. Um, Something that I really love about the beginning of this book, which explains a lot about internal family systems. So, I am not a therapist. I have been in therapy for a long time. I do internal family systems work in therapy, and I've taken some coursework on internal family systems, as well as I've read this book and completed the workbook. So all of these things are linked on my TikTok shop if you're interested in purchasing them. If you'd rather buy them from Amazon, they're also linked in my Linktree shop. But you don't need to have these resources in order to do the work. Here, I need to put this down a little bit. Here we go. All right. Sorry, y'all. I'm having a little bit of trouble focusing right now. Okay. All right, let's get into it. So internal family systems, what I love about the beginning of this book, what I was just saying before, is that we have been taught, at least in the US, right? I know that we have people from all over the world that come to these sessions. So please let me know if this is similar in your culture. But at least in the US, like multiple personalities is considered a bad thing. Bipolar disorder is like you're quote unquote nuts. And this book takes a completely different look at this within the framework. It says we all have multiple parts existing inside of us. We all do. That's what internal family systems are, right? It's like the family that lives inside of you, not your external family, but your internal, right? That's why it's called internal family systems. And everybody has a job, right? So there's different parts of you. There's what we call protectors, there's what we call firefighters, and then we have parts of ourselves that we have exiled, right? And we call those exiled parts. And then there is, your higher self, the part of you that is compassionate and wise, your truest self. Okay? And like you're probably right now like, why the heck is a singing teacher talking about this? Why is she bringing it up? And the reason that I think internal family systems is really great for creators is because it allows us to gently and compassionately work with our protectors. So, your protector is the part of you that wants to protect you, for lack of better language. The protector is going to do whatever it can to keep you safe. So if you are a creative person and you struggle to put yourself out into the world, to perform in front of other people, to write music, to maybe create content of yourself singing or performing in some way, the part of our brains, the part of our human brains that processes pain, physical pain, is the same part of our brain that processes social rejection. So that means social rejection feels painful for us. Say hi to everybody, little meowie. So I would like for you to consider, since we're working with internal family systems today, consider this lens. Your brain processes social rejection like pain. So if you put yourself out there, if you perform for somebody, or you put your creation out into the world and it isn't received well, or maybe it just isn't received, maybe it's generally ignored. I feel like that happens fairly often in modern society because we're inundated constantly with content. And do you hear that? Did a bird just fly into my window? What just happened? If your brain is processing social rejection as pain, then your brain is going to try to prevent you from putting yourself in a position where you may be socially rejected. And I'm willing to bet, if you're here and you're watching this, that at some point in your formative years, you had an experience where you wanted to sing or perform or something like that. And maybe somebody said something rude to you. Maybe it was you were implicitly or explicitly shamed. Okay, so shaming can be explicit, right? Like somebody says awful words to you that make you feel shame. Or it could be implicit too. Maybe somebody doesn't say something to you, but they give you a dirty look or they ostracize you. And then we internalize that shame, right? So if you've experienced something like this, and you can go ahead, double tap the screen, give me a thumbs up if you've experienced something like this in your lifetime, then your brain has put into its system like, hey, we need to protect ourselves from feeling this sort of social rejection again because it feels so very painful. And so you start to develop what internal family systems refers to as a protector. Okay, so maybe the next time you go to do public speaking or a TikTok live or create an Instagram reel or go to karaoke or whatever it may be, all of a sudden your alert systems are firing off, right? Thank you for the gifts, Fairy House. And maybe you feel some sensation in your body, right? But the overall message that you're getting is that it's dangerous to put yourself out there in this way. And so your brain and your body is doing exactly what it's been programmed to do, which is to keep you safe, right? This whole package, the whole thing, its job is to survive. It's to keep you alive in your human body on this planet. So when you feel nervous, when you're wanting to put yourself out there, when you're wanting to sing with a band or wanting to go to karaoke or wanting to take voice lessons for the first time, and your body is screaming at you that it's not safe, you want to actually thank your body, right? What we tend to do is we put ourselves on this shame cycle or shame spiral, whichever language works better for you. It's like you really want to put yourself out there, okay? But then your body makes you feel really unsafe. Your body's saying, don't do it, it's not safe. And so then you start to feel even worse about yourself because you're like, it's just singing. It's just making an Instagram reel. It's just this, it's just that. Why can't I do it? And then you start beating yourself up because you feel like you should be able to do something that your body is telling you isn't safe, but that underlying you actually really want to do. So now we have the thing you really want to do buried under the survival protection of the brain and body, and now buried under shame that you're holding on to, thinking that you should be able to do something, right? And then you might feel shame about the shame. So do you see how easy it is for these feelings to get really buried? And when you have survival mechanisms buried under shame, it becomes very easy for us to think that like we are the problem and internalize that there is something wrong with us. And that's not true, right? So, what I'd like to do today is a session where I'd like to, if you're up for it, if you feel safe, right? Now we're online, right? And so I need you to promise me that if you want to do this work today, that you're going to take care of yourself. And if it becomes too much for you, that you remove yourself, right? You can either mute for a minute and come back, or leave and come back, and find something that makes you feel safe. But I will walk you through the process of how to find safety before we begin, because I absolutely don't want anybody to end up in a position where they're not feeling well, okay? Yes, I got a singer position in a band and backed out due to self-confidence. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Congratulations on getting the position. That's fantastic. And I'm sorry that you talked yourself out of it. Maybe we can get to the bottom of some of it today. All right. Okay. So I think the first thing I would like to share with you is that when you feel nervous, when you feel incapable or unsafe of putting yourself out there publicly, instead of, if you can, right, because we're on a loop, right? So the hardest part of breaking this cycle is awareness. You can't break the cycle if you aren't aware that it's happening, right? And that is just practice. You have to learn how to start catching yourself. And the way you learn how to start catching yourself is through the knowledge that we're about to explore together today. And I would just like to say too that like I am not the creator of this. I practice it. I have had amazing teachers. They have all been women. Happy International Women's Day, everyone. Who have done this work before me and have shown me the way. So also, if you're interested in any of those resources, if you want to take classes from any of the people I've taken classes with, let me know. I'm happy to share their information with you. It's mostly been remote work, so you can do it from wherever you are. Okay. So after we have some awareness, which we're developing awareness right now by doing this work, okay? You might want to grab a journal if you really want to go in so that you can write some of this down and remember it for another time. Okay? So the first step is when your body is screaming at you that something is unsafe, putting yourself out there publicly, is the awareness. And when you have the awareness, instead of then burying your fear, your feelings of unsafety, instead of burying that in shame, what you can then instead do is thank your body. How counterintuitive is that, right? My heart is racing, my palms are sweaty, I feel like I'm going to throw up, my throat is in my stomach, my heart is in my throat, right? All of the things. The body feels very uncomfortable. Thank you, body. I can feel your cues. I'm listening to you. I hear you. You feel that we are unsafe, and I thank you for protecting me. Right? That's the first thing. If you bury your physical sensations in shame, you're going to impact them. You're going to make them worse. You're going to make them more intense. You're going to solidify them into your being more. So it's critical in that moment that we start to develop the awareness of, oh, I feel nervous. My body doesn't feel safe. Okay, how does my body not feel safe? And you really do have to grow the capacity to understand sensation, right? The body speaks to us through sensation. So you have to develop this skill, right? It's like learning how to read music or learning a new language, right? And I think that it's a language we all intuitively know that modern society intentionally separates us from, because we're a lot easier to sell things to when we don't understand ourselves. I also think the individualistic nature of capitalism, at least here in the United States, siphons us into individuals, right? I would never have learned this stuff if it wasn't for community. And I spent a lot of time and money and energy learning these things, and I really do feel that although I am bringing this information to you through the vehicle of music and singing, that like community is what will bring us to share all of this knowledge and information, and is what will help us collectively heal. We deeply need collective healing. I think it's extremely apparent right now in the state of the world. So how do you grow your capacity to feel the sensation within your body? You be gentle, low and slow. You cannot force it, because if you try to force your connection with your body may shut you out, may shut down and say, no, we're not doing this. So you have to go low and slow. And the way I recommend starting is when you feel nerves, when you feel scared to put yourself out there, can you close your eyes? Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't even feel safe enough to close your eyes. And that's okay. If you don't feel safe enough to close your eyes, then you find a spot to stare at. And I recommend you find something to look at that makes you feel safe, that is beautiful, that you really enjoy. Right? Like for me, it might be my pet, my cat. He makes me feel very safe. Okay? So we want to do something called resourcing in order to learn how to feel sensation in our body. Because as we are learning to dissect and feel into the sensation in our bodies, we want to make sure that if it becomes too much for our system, that we can do what is called resourcing. And resourcing is finding something that you love, that makes you feel good and makes you feel safe. Okay, so remember how I told you that I was going to help you find some safety resources before we go in, so that you know how to help yourself if you need to help yourself. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about now. So what I'd like you to do is, if you're going to stick around for the next 5 or 10 minutes, okay, come along with me. Plant your feet on the ground, whether you're sitting or standing. You can place your hands somewhere on your body that feels really nourishing. So for some people, palms down on the thighs feels really good. Maybe you rub your legs a little bit, okay? If you're comfortable, go ahead and actually do this with me. Put your hands on your thighs and rub your hands back and forth a little bit. Okay, now focus on the way that your own touch feels. Maybe it's pressing the fabric of your clothes into your skin, right? And I want you to pay attention to this sensation. Does this feel safe? Do you feel held? Is this a good way to remind yourself you're safe, right? There's also practices called containment that help us humans feel very safe. That could be as simple as placing our hands over our ears and applying a little bit of pressure. Maybe it feels better to do it this way. It's called containment because it's just meant to remind us of our edges, of our human body edges. And we can contain ourselves. We can feel our container so that we know we're here, we're steady, we're safe. Hugging yourself is another good way. Okay? So this is using the resource of touch, of feeling. Paying attention to how your clothing feel on your skin, how your hands feel hugging you, how your hands feel on your face, how your feet feel on the ground. Okay? Another way to resource is visually. I have a plant in a little Brontosaurus planter over there. It makes me so happy. See how I'm smiling just talking about it? So when I look at my jade plant in my Brontosaurus planter, it makes me feel safe. It makes me feel happy. This is another resource, okay? I also love to hold my necklace. I always have a necklace on. If you watch my lives, I always have something on. Sometimes I know I love to hold like crystals or stones. Those make me feel very safe. Okay? Maybe there's a scent that you can resource or a taste that you really like. I'm really enjoying my coffee. Now, if you're open to it, I would love for you, hi Jeffrey, I would love for you to put in the comments what your favorite resource is, because it might help other people, right? If you share what yours is, it might make somebody go, oh, I like that thing too. Or, oh, I have something similar to that in my house. Right now, I'm looking at my pink Himalayan salt lamp and it's glowing so gently and it's just so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that it's in my home. Okay? So if anybody feels comfortable enough to share their resource, their favorite one or one that they found in their home, I would love that. And if you're not ready for that yet, that's okay too. Okay? So just please at least find one resource so that if the internal sensation we work with becomes too much, you have a way to help yourself come back, okay? My ocean collection, ocean brings me peace. Yeah, I'm such a water person too. My sun and my moon signs are both water signs. But my rising sign is fire. Cool. Okay, so now that we have resources and we know how to keep ourselves safe, we can explore these nervous sensations that we have. Okay? So we're going to sing for somebody, we're going to create a piece of content, we're going to do public speaking somewhere, we're going to perform. Our body speaks to us in sensations, so can we identify those sensations? Because I find that when I'm working with my own nerves, if I know ahead of time how my body is going to act, then I have a much better chance at being able to work with it than work against it. If I know, okay, I'm nervous, my palms always get sweaty. This is how my body is communicating to me that I'm nervous. Okay, I'm nervous, my heart is racing. It feels like my throat is in my stomach. This is how I know I feel nervous, right? And just trying to take inventory so that you have an idea of, okay, when I feel nervous, my body feels like this. And it's going to help you in two ways, because one, it's not going to surprise you. You're going to know what to expect if you know you're walking into a situation where you feel nervous. If you know what to expect, you can be prepared with resources to help yourself, okay? And the other thing too is maybe you're not sure if you're going to be nervous. Maybe you walk into a room, right? Let's just say maybe you're going to a party and you walk into a room and all of a sudden there's more people there than you thought were going to be there, and oh, your palms start to sweat. Your throat feels like it's in your stomach. Your heart is racing. Oh, I know these signs. I'm nervous, right? So you're starting to pair your mind and your body. You're starting to understand, this is how my body reacts when I feel nervous. Okay, so now my body can now inform me, oh, hey, I'm nervous. Or if I'm going into a situation where I know I'm going to be nervous, I can be like, okay, I can expect my body to maybe do X, Y, and Z. I know I feel better when I have my favorite rock to hold in my hand, or a picture of my kid on my phone, or when I wear this certain fabric that feels so nice on my skin. You can find ways to support yourself, okay? And so the next step, step beyond learning the sensation, is this internal family systems work. And if you're new or you're just joining us here, this is No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard Schwartz. He's a therapist. I am not a therapist, but I've done a lot of this work in my own therapy sessions. And I've taken quite a few courses on this sort of work. So we have the layer of thanking our bodies for trying to protect us, right? When our bodies feel that we are putting ourselves into an unsafe situation. Well, the part of our minds that feel like we're putting ourselves into an unsafe situation, they're also going to start reeling too, right? And these parts of us are called our protectors. And if you've ever put yourself in a situation, or you've ever been in a situation that felt or became unsafe, your brain is taking inventory of that, right? And it's storing it away in your memory files, and it's constantly scanning your environment to see if that situation or a similar situation is coming your way so that it can keep you safe, right? It's just like our body, our minds, our brain's job is it's just trying to keep you safe. So maybe you're going to perform for somebody and you feel the nervous sensations in your body, but you also have stories happening in your head, right? Uh, I will share sometimes. So I'm a professional singer, so I don't tend to get nervous anymore in the gig situations that I'm very used to doing, right? Like weddings, top 40 gigs, corporate gigs, stuff like that with big bands. But when I sing in a situation that isn't like what I'm used to, what I've been doing for over a decade, I do feel nervous. And so I will share with you some of the stories that happen in my head. Um, my protector is saying to me, "Oh, you don't know how to do this. This isn't what you do. This isn't what you've done 100 times. What if your voice doesn't sound right on this song? Or what if they don't like it? Or what if you can't lead the band the way that you usually can?" So there's all these stories that are being told to me. What if this has happened to me before, actually? What if the guitar player and the bass player start playing in different keys and you can't make sense out of it, and you just have to sing something, and then everybody thinks you're a terrible singer and it's not your fault? Right? And I'm sure we all have our own stories. If you feel comfortable dropping them in the comments, I'm definitely open to holding those stories with you. But these stories are stories that our protector is telling us to keep us safe. So, and this is where internal family systems comes into play, right? We have other parts of ourselves. The protector is not the only part. However, in this situation where you're feeling unsafe, your protector is coming to the forefront and saying, whoa, 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 everybody else step aside. It's time for me to protect. Okay? So the way that we work with our protector using knowledge from internal family systems is that we learn how to have a conversation with it. Okay? Do I have this bookmarked to where I think I did? Okay. So I'm going to explain through it once, and then I'm going to read you a passage from the book. Okay? So let me show you what a conversation with my protector might look like in the situation that I just described to you. So let's say I am performing by myself. This still freaks me out to no end, okay? My body tells me I'm unsafe. My mind tells me I'm unsafe. You're going to make a mistake, right? So the protector is saying to me, Tara, come on, baby. He's looking at me like he's going to come sit. It's so interesting too. Black cats are known to be protectors, so I feel like a lot of times when I share this information with you all, I feel it in my body, right? Like I can pull up the nervous feelings when I think about it, and I think he senses them, and he's protecting me. You're very sweet, honey. Thank you. I'm not in danger though. I appreciate you. You can sit with me. You want to sit? Okay. So let's say I'm in the situation where I'm going to play the piano and sing by myself. Yeah, he's such a sweet cat. I feel judged with looks, and I can hit all the notes shaking. And if I can hit all the notes shaking, yeah, so your body's having a very physical reaction. And I've had that experience too, where I've been so nervous that it actually affects the quality of my singing voice. Like my tone becomes like, I have vibrato that I can't control because my tone just is my nerves are showing through my singing voice, right? Aw, little tuxedo kitty, sweet one. I love our feline friends. I love all our animal friends. It's just a little easier to have a cat in New York City than a dog. I don't know how these people do it, where they have little dogs they have to take out to walk so many times a day. Okay, so I'm about to go play piano and sing by myself, and my protector is telling me, Tara, don't do it. You're going to mess up. It's not going to be good. People aren't going to like it. You're going to be rejected, which I can share with you all that I have massive abandonment issues and rejection issues from childhood, and I share that with you openly and vulnerably. Is that a word? Because I imagine most people can relate, right? We've had an experience that has left us with those wounds. And so that part of me is agitated, that part of me that believes I'm going to be left behind. And don't forget to consider, too, that for ages, right, we lived in these hunter-gatherer communities, tribes, these small community units where if you were ostracized from it, it likely meant that you would be unalived, that you would not be able to survive on your own. Humans are social creatures. So acknowledging that too, that this is hardwired into us, rejection sensitivity, because of what it could have meant, for our ancestors. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you what an internal family system style conversation with myself might look like in this moment. Okay, so I'm going to ask what I'm going to refer to as my higher self. You could call your true self, your self energy, just like the wisest, most compassionate version of yourself. And then, so that version of me is going to have a conversation with my protector. And my protector is saying, Tara, don't do it. Your body's nervous. I'm nervous. I don't think we're safe. And then I'm going to say back to the protector, hi, protector, how are you today? I hear you. You have some concerns. Thank you for trying to protect me. Why do you think we're not going to be safe? Why do you think this isn't safe for us? And asking in a non-judging way, right? Like, it's really important that you learn to have these conversations with yourself without judgment. It takes time. It really takes time. I was raised in a household where other people's actions were constantly being scrutinized and judged. So unlearning that behavior, especially within myself, has taken a lot of time and energy. So just allow me to share that, to let you know that if you had similar upbringing, or you find yourself in a judging position, that you can unlearn that behavior, right? You don't have to continuously choose that behavior. Okay, so now I've asked my protector, why do you think we're unsafe? And you have to learn how to listen. And it just requires some space. So now the protector might say back to me, you'll notice I'm closing my eyes because for me it's easier for me to listen to my internal world without visual stimulus to distract me. Maybe it's the same for you, maybe it's not. So my protector is saying, it's unsafe because you're going to make a mistake and everybody's going to laugh at you. And my higher self is going to say back to the protector, I probably will make a mistake. I'm not a concert pianist, so it's likely I will make a mistake and maybe somebody will laugh at me, but that wouldn't feel good. It wouldn't feel nice, but it's not a threat to my safety. It's not a threat to our safety. How do you feel about that? And then the protector might say back, I've done a lot of this work, so I think that the protector is right in this moment is willing to accept that. and say, you're right. I will be here to protect you if you need me, but I can take a step back and allow you to do this thing and trust you that we will be safe, okay? But this is after years of work doing this with this. So what would have happened when I was first doing this work is the protector would have been resistant. They would have said, no, we can't have anybody laugh at us. You can't do this. You can't put yourself out there in this way. So like, it has taken me time to develop trust with the protector part of myself. So now the protector trusts me enough for me to say, hey, I got this. Can you please take a back seat? And the protector will be like, yeah, okay, you got this. I hear you. Right? But at first, when you're brand new to this work, that protector's going to be like, hell no, I'm not going anywhere. You don't know what you're doing. I got to keep us safe. Look at all this proof I have from our childhood, or look at all this proof I have from this experience. No, I will not take a back seat. I have to keep you safe. And you have to learn how to essentially reparent this part of yourself that is likely young, right? It's likely a part of yourself that is stuck at a younger age. This is a lot of information. Are there any questions before I read a little bit of the book to you all? This work, along with nervous system regulation work, has been absolutely life-changing for me. And I really feel like it's my duty, now that I have learned this work, to share it with other people. I don't think you get to learn how to do this work and keep it for yourself. That's not the point. Okay, let's read. So this is No Bad Parts by Dr. Richard Schwartz. If you're on TikTok, I have it linked to this live. I think it's like $11 and then shipping is $6. So that is still cheaper than buying it on Amazon. I think it's $20 on Amazon. But if you prefer to get it through Amazon, it's linked in my Linktree shop. So if you go to my Linktree, it'll bring you to my links, and then there's a toggle button at the top that says shop. Okay, and I have the book is available on TikTok and on my Linktree. So is the workbook. If you like to write things down and have a workbook, I recommend. It's fantastic. And now the Shadow Work Journal is only available on TikTok shop, but this has been really great to help me kind of get to the bottom of things too. All right. I'm going to now read to you an exercise, okay? And you can feel free to do this exercise, or if you want to record, you can do a screen recording and do this later, or all of these lives are automatically reposted on my YouTube. So you can go to the Frequency Friday replay, and you can always go back and rewatch this on YouTube if you'd like to actually do the exercise along to me reading it out loud. This is available on audiobook as well. I like having both because the audiobook is cool because the guy who wrote this, the therapist, actually puts in some live conversations with his clients, walking them through this. So it's really helpful, I think, to listen to somebody else work through this in real time. But it's also really nice to have the book because there's exercises in it. So then you have a tangible thing you can go back to and do the exercises with. Okay. This is from page 11. Page 51. Where did I get 11 from? Internal Family Systems. This is the chapter called This Changes Everything. Our parts long for connection to our self, and self has a capital S. Okay, that's what we're calling like the higher self. Okay. Our parts long for connection to our self just as much as we long to connect to self. Okay. Exercise, dilemma meditation. Okay. Once again, I invite you to get comfortable and take some deep breaths. All right, let's do that now together. I love making sound on my exhale. Go ahead and do it if it makes sense for you, if you like the way it feels too. Otherwise, just welcome some natural breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Now, think of a dilemma in your life, okay? Don't forget your resources if this becomes too stressful, okay? Either one that you're currently facing or one that you have faced in the past. Pick an issue that you've experienced a lot of conflict around. As you focus on this dilemma, notice the parts on each side of it and notice how they battle with each other. And then notice how you feel towards that battle or toward each part in the battle. Now let's get to know each of those parts one at a time, okay? So the battle it's referring to is, right, let's go back to the example I used about wanting to perform solo and the protector telling me it's not safe and the self saying, no, but we really want to do this, right? Those two parts are battling with each other. And then on top of that, I'm feeling some way about the fact that they're battling with each other, right? I don't like that they're battling with each other. It's stressful. I wish that these two parts of myself that are in battle would just figure it out, okay? So now we have a new opposing force. So we have to get to know each of these parts one at a time to see what they want and how we can help them, okay? To do that, you're going to ask one of them to go into a sort of waiting room. That will create a bit of a boundary that will allow the part you're currently working with to relax a little bit. So get to know the one who's not in the waiting room first. And again, notice what you, your higher self, is feeling towards it. If you're feeling anything negative, we're going to ask the parts associated with the negative feelings to let you get to know it for a few minutes. We're not going to give the attended to part more power to take over and get whatever it wants. We're just going to try to get to know it. To do that, the one you have in the waiting room or any of its allies who are making themselves known needs to pull its energy out of you. You can reassure it, the one that is in the waiting room, that it'll have time with you too. So it can be a patient, okay? So this looks like, hey protector, I'm feeling judging towards you right now. So I am going to ask you to please go sit in the waiting room so that I can get to know this judgment a little bit better, okay? If you can get to the point of at least being curious about the one who's not in the waiting room, go ahead and follow your curiosity and ask it what it wants you to know about its position. Why does it take such a strong position on this issue? What is it afraid would happen if the other one took over and won the battle? As you listen to it, you don't have to agree or disagree. Just let the part know that it's being heard, that you respect it, you care about it, you're there with it, and you hear it. And see how it reacts. In the next minute or so, I want you to ask the part you've been speaking with to go to the waiting room, okay? Then let the other part out so you can get to know it in the same way. And again, you're trying to have an open heart and an open mind as you listen to its side. You don't have to agree. You just kind of want to get where it's coming from, why it's so charged up about this, what it's afraid would happen if the other side won, and so on. After you've worked with that second part for a while, ask if it would be willing to talk to the other one directly, okay? So now you have yourself, and you've talked to the protector, and you've talked to the judger, okay? Continuing with the same example we've been using, and you've talked to them separately, and now you're asking, can they have a conversation with each other? Can the protector talk directly to the judger with respect, and can the judger talk back to the protector with respect? Again, this takes time. The answer might be no right now, and if the answer is no, that's okay. Allow the answer to be no, right? This is all about just allowing what is to be, okay? Reassure it that you are there to meditate, reassure it that you are there to mediate and to make sure that they stay respectful towards each other. Remember, this is the two parts speaking to each other directly. It's okay if the part is not willing to do that. If that happens, don't take the next steps. But if it is willing, then invite the other one to come and sit down with the two of you. Now you're going to kind of act as their therapist as they talk to each other about the issue. And again, your job is not to take a side. It's just to help them get to know each other in a different way and make sure they respect each other when they talk. Remind them that they're both a part of you, so they have that in common. Then just see how they react as they get to know each other in a different way. Notice what happens to the dilemma. At some point, pause their discussion, let them both know that you can meet with them more regularly in this way, and ask them if they would be willing to give you their input on the dilemmas in the future, but then trust you to make the final decision. They would act more like advisors for you rather than having the responsibility of making bigger decisions like this on their own. See how they react to that idea. As before, it can help to remind them of who you are, age-wise, etc., and who you are not, right? We are no longer the young child who got made fun of at the school talent show. We are now an adult, and we are capable of making decisions on our own, okay? That's what that might look like. In the next minute or two, thank them both for however much they did, and be sure to remind them that you're going to return. Then begin to shift your focus back to the outside world. If your parts cooperated, it's likely you found that they really didn't know each other, right? They're kept separate. This is because they've been put in polarized roles with each other and had extreme visions of who the other ones were. Wow, how politically relevant is what I just read right now in America. Holy crap, I'm going to read that one more time. If your parts cooperated, it's likely you found that they really didn't know each other. This is because they've been in polarized roles with each other and had extreme visions of who the other one was. We see the same thing play out in international conflicts as well as within countries, companies, families, and couples. The more extreme one side gets, the more the other side has to get extreme in the other direction. This process happens at all levels of human systems, particularly when there is not good leadership, and it's no less true with inner systems. Most of us have neglected our inner worlds, and we've left it to these inner children to try to make these big decisions and hash it out, as we've been busy out here in the external world. One shot at this probably isn't enough to stop the battle. In my experience, that is true, because the stakes feel so high for each part, and the idea of totally relaxing is anathema to them. I actually don't know what that word means. Let's Google it together quickly. No shame in not knowing a word we haven't heard of before. Anathema. Yep, I believe I pronounced it correctly. Or anathema. Anathema. Okay? It's something or someone that one vehemently dislikes. A formal curse. Oh, no, never mind. that second definition doesn't apply here. All right. The idea of totally relaxing is anathema to them. They vehemently dislike it. But at least they feel a little more connected to you, your higher self, and to each other. Okay, so maybe they haven't worked out their battle yet, but at least they're starting to work on it. This is the kind of new leadership that I'm inviting you to try out inside. Leadership is you, your higher self, who you currently are. Really, it's the same approach I use when working with a couple. I listen to one, then listen to the other, and in so doing, I make a connection so they both trust me. Then I bring them together, make sure they're respectful, and have them talk in this different way to create understanding. Pretty cool, huh? Good book. All right, so I hope that this session has been useful for you all, that maybe you've gained a new perspective or got some little nugget that is going to help you in your journey and your pursuit to learn how to better connect with yourself so that you can work through feelings of nervousness, to put yourself out there into the world. When I started my content creation journey, it took me a lot of work to feel safe enough to put myself out in public like this, the world can be so harsh and cruel. And I mean, just like I think you all were here, those who are on TikTok, somebody came in and was trolling almost right off the top. And I noticed it happens more on weekends, which is just interesting, at least in my experience. But, what they said didn't hurt me. It's just like this person is intentionally being inflammatory. I'm just going to mute them. I didn't even bother blocking them because what they were saying wasn't terrible, but it seemed like they were intentionally trying to get a rise out of me on this live. And I think maybe a year ago or before that, when I was just starting this journey, that would have really knocked me off balance. But I think that through a lot of this work that I've been doing, which is, this therapy, internal family systems, nervous system work, that I've become much more grounded in myself. Because when the parts inside of you, when they get to know each other, they stop hijacking each other. Right? And then what happens when a part hijacks us is that's when we explode. That's when we have a really angry reaction. That's when we become passive aggressive. That's when we lash out and hurt other people. So when we get to know these other parts of ourselves and we can work with them and develop trust with them, then they don't feel like they need to hijack you anymore, to step out front and take over. Does that make sense? Thanks for the follow, Melina. Nice to see you here. As I think of my higher self and confidence, an eagle is flying in front of me as I look out the window. I love that. Eagles are signs of strength and confidence. That's so cool. I love when the outer world reflects your inner world back to you. Lets you know you're on the right path, right? No coincidences, in my humble opinion. If there are coincidences for you in your world, that's cool too. I'm here for that. All right. Thank you for sharing it. You're welcome. Thank you for receiving. I appreciate it. Yes, it made me cry to release some of those parts of fear protection. Passive fear protection was huge. Yeah. Awesome. Crying is such a great release. I used to be one of those people who was like, I don't cry. I'm not a girly girl. This is interesting. I will share this with you all. This is quite vulnerable, but it's International Women's Day, so maybe it's important that I share this. Maybe it'll reach the right person and make them consider their own actions a little bit. So I think especially through my 20s, because I was trying to make it in the music world, and the music field is dominated by men, right? I know we see a lot of female singers, but there are not nearly as many female instrumentalists as there are male instrumentalists, and so I'm trying to navigate it and make it in this world. And I had a lot of internalized misogyny, I think from the place I was raised and how I was raised. No shade to my parents. I truly don't think they knew any better. I try to teach them now that I know better. But I think that in my head, also being a misogynist, because I'm surrounded by men who have internalized misogyny as well. We all have internalized misogyny. It's the way our society is. I'm not attacking anyone. This is what I believe to be true. It's in all of us, and if we don't do the work to eradicate it, then it's going to exist within us. I believe the same thing with racism. Our society implants it in us. It's our job to eradicate it. And if you don't actively do the work, then it's in there somewhere because it was literally implanted in you without your consent when you were very young, and that should upset you. It should be upsetting. So I realized that I think it took until I was 30 But I started realizing that I was attempting to get ahead in this male dominated field by putting other women down, by trying to be more conventionally attractive than other women I felt I was in competition with, using male attention almost as a form of currency. And I think when I started to realize and accept that I thought this was a way to help me get ahead, and I realized what it actually was doing was separating me from other women and not really helping anything at all, then I was able to start working on the thing. So how did I get here? Because we were talking about crying and releasing, right? So part of that internalized misogyny that was within me was, I don't cry. I'm not a girly girl. I'm strong. I'm tough. And what I realized as I've grown older and worked through that internalized misogyny and educated myself, is that there's actually more strength in crying and feeling your emotions and processing them and allowing these difficult feelings to move through you. That is so much more powerful and so much stronger than holding it in and swallowing it down. Because when we have emotions, and this has been scientifically proven, you can read The Body Keeps the Score, great book by Bessel van der Kolk. If we don't process something, we store it in our body, and it becomes compressed and compressed and compressed as we push it down, and it becomes physical ailment. So it's actually much more powerful and much stronger position to feel your feelings, to cry when you need to cry. And I've been working on this for a while now. I'm going through a major life transition, so there's a lot of tears coming for me these days. But I've gotten so good at feeling what I need to feel and letting the tears out, and then realizing when I'm done, when my release is complete. So if I get upset, crying no longer takes a whole day away from me because I just feel awful and I'm processing things for an entire day. It's just like I've learned, okay, this is intense. I can let it flow. I can hold this. I have the power. I have the capacity. Let's let this flow through. Okay? I can feel that it's done now. It's done what it needs to do, and I can go on with my day. This stuff takes work. It takes so much work because society teaches us opposing things that aren't good for us. And I believe that the reason society teaches us opposing things that aren't good for us is for profit. There's a part of me deep in my gut that hopes I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I think we're living in a very sick society, and I'm hopeful that the poison is going to be siphoned out in the near future, and we'll start living in a way that's more true to ourselves. I had a strong male and female judger growing up and taught not to whine and cry about it. Yep. Don't cry, don't whine. Gosh, whining was so forbidden in my household. I can relate deeply to that. Gen X here, and there was not empathy shown often. It makes you a tough cookie, but you need to release. Yeah. And I do think it's something that in general we're getting better at generationally, which is cool to look at. I have much more skills than my boomer parents do. And my Gen Z nephew has more skills than I do. Right? And so I think it's important too, and I have a couple Gen Alpha students, singing students. So I think it's important too. They do beat themselves up quite a bit, actually. And I'm not sure if that's just, because I remember doing that when I was a young person in singing lessons too. So I don't know if I could point to that being a generational thing. But I constantly try to remind them that you're in singing lessons, you're here to learn. You're not supposed to know everything. And you're not supposed to judge yourself here either. You're supposed to explore and be curious. I'm here to let you know when you do something that isn't good. And sounds are not inherently good or bad. If you can make the sound with your voice and body, it's just a sound. It's not good or bad. The only way I'm going to tell you a sound is bad if I'm teaching you how to sing is if it's going to cause damage to your physical instrument. That's the only way a sound can be bad. Otherwise, it's just a sound, and it's something worth exploring. So I want to thank everybody for being here. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to share, you're welcome to do that in the chat. I'm going to start my little sign-off spiel, but feel free to drop any questions or shares in the chat. My name is Tara, your resident harmony nerd. I'm a professional singer in New York City, singing teacher, music teacher, composer, content creator, many, many hats. And I have free offerings every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Today's session is usually on Fridays. I was busy yesterday, so I pushed it to Saturday. And I still have to schedule next week's sessions, so keep your eye out. On TikTok, you will find them in my profile page, and on YouTube, you will find them on my main page under upcoming lives. You can click notify me on YouTube to be notified in your own time zone, or you can pre-register on TikTok. We have Music Theory Mondays, Ear Training Tuesdays, Warm-Up Wednesdays, Free Voice Lesson Thursdays, and Frequency Fridays, which is what this is, where we have these talks to kind of work through some of the difficult mind games that we have to work through in order to be a performer or to put ourselves out into the world in any way, really. It can be so scary. Yeah. So you can support me for free by following or subscribing. New on YouTube, so if you're not on YouTube and you can hop over there and subscribe, I deeply appreciate it. Anything you buy from my TikTok shop or my Linktree shop helps me with affiliate. You're welcome to send a tip. I have a tip jar in my Linktree. Okay. I'm also a one-to-one vocal coach. If you're interested in lessons, you can DM me or shoot me an email. My email is on my website. My website is on my Linktree. Okay. So let me see. I'm an empath. Always felt everything. It was hard hiding from all of those emotions. I was socially awkward. Yeah. It's so hard to be a feeler, a deep feeler in a society that is so cruel to basic humanity. To live in a society where we're weak for just expressing our needs. It's so wild and counterintuitive and opposing to what it means to be human. It's confusing, and we have no choice other than to accept it. So we have to live in this constant state of cognitive dissonance. And it's just so hard. Part of the reason I feel like I can't live in New York City anymore is just seeing all of this wealth next to all of this poverty. My friend was visiting. We went to see a Broadway show last Friday. It was so good. It was Redwood with Idina Menzel. Happy to say more if you're interested. But I took the train back by myself at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, which I haven't done in a while. I tried to avoid it because the trains have been feeling less and less safe since COVID, since 2020. And I got on this platform. It was in Herald Square in Midtown Manhattan. And I was just on one platform, right? The downtown Brooklyn platform for this one specific train. And there were like 25 people sleeping on the platform on the benches because they don't have a place to stay. And I just felt sick to my stomach that I'm in one of the wealthiest cities in the world with unlimited resources, and our society has failed so many people so thoroughly that there's 25 humans sleeping on a train platform right now. because it's the safest place they have to sleep. And this is just one platform in a station with how many platforms? 10, 20? Ugh, and I just like, so, the point of all this is just to say that, like, Fairy House, I relate. I can no longer hold this, the cognitive dissonance. I can no longer just walk by and ignore it. It's not okay. Scarcity is man-made. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Hi, Melody. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you doing? We're having some deep talks today. It's Soulful Saturday, babe. We did some internal family systems work, which is a therapy system. And if you're interested, the replay will be posted on YouTube. I do have Cash App, Fairy House, yes. I believe you sent me a tip a couple weeks ago. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. You're okay? Good. I'm glad to hear that, Melody. I haven't seen you in a minute. It's nice to see you here. Yeah, that's okay. I'm not staying too long either. I've been on for a little over an hour, so it's just a little longer for me until I make some breakfast. I got some sausage and a bagel and an egg and an avocado, and I'm gonna make myself a little sandwich. It's gonna be so nourishing and delicious. Can you tell I'm excited? Oh, thank you for the tiny dinies. I don't understand how we can walk by and not feel. Yeah, I agree, Fairy House, that it's hard. I've been in the city for 12 years, 13 years, so you have to learn how to walk by it. And just like, almost like those horse blinders. And it's sad. It's hard. Breaks my heart. Honeybee says it's good that they're in the city with more resources and other people. Yeah. I just wish that the resources were more evenly spread out and more accessible. I think that the crime in the city, I feel like, is rising because the difference between the people who have their basic needs met and the people who do not have their basic needs met, that distance is growing. It's getting worse. And when people are desperate, that's when crime rates go up. So I know in my neighborhood that there's been a lot more like car break-ins and people trying to break into homes and things like that. So it's just hard. It's hard to see and to witness and to feel like there's not much we can do about it personally, Oh, you did a Venmo? Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very, very sweet of you. Thank you. Oops. What did I just do? I just invited somebody. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I tapped it. So if it was you, I apologize. The way the world is really numbs me in a way because all the suffering and hate is so much. Yeah. It feels very, very heavy right now because it's very present. But the optimist in me really feels like we're pulling it to the top, right? I think of it like a wound, right? If you have an infected cut on your hand, the only way to get the infection out is to pull it up to the top, right? You have to see it in order for it to heal and leave and go away. So I'm using that analogy to get me through the day-to-day right now. We have to siphon it out. We can't siphon it out if we're not aware that it's there, but it is so heavy to hold, so heavy. If you think about it too much, it really messes with you. Yeah, I agree. There's like a cap, right? I'm trying to keep myself informed, but also when I feel like I'm at my limit, I shut it off. Like I've really had to be strict with my social media scrolling because it just seems like it's just bad news after bad news after bad news, right? So I've been trying to follow more creators with messages of hope and action, action steps. Panhandling can be a resource. I'm in a rural area and people suffer in isolation and silence. Oh, that's heartbreaking, honeybee. I hope that everybody gets the help they need. Hi, Hala. How are you today? It was you. I invited you, Melody. You're welcome to come on if you want, but I think we both have to go soon. Yeah. Yeah. Cry. Cry if you need to cry, honey. Let it out. I'm hugging you. I think we're going to be okay. I really do. But I also know that it's very hard to be a human right now. Like, so hard. And I feel that on a macro level, right? Like on the world scale, the world stage, but also on a micro level, right? I feel like everybody's going through some really hard stuff right now, some really hard transitions. I know I am. But I also feel really blessed that I have people in my day-to-day life, like Hala, if you're still here. I'm hollering to Hala. And my partner, he's an absolutely incredible human. My best friends, I feel so blessed that I have you all, that like we are finding each other, right? Like-minded people, we are finding each other, we are taking solace in each other. And I think that's fantastic. It's like little lanterns of hope, you know, little light beams. So, and today is International Women's Day, so celebrating all my lovely ladies, beautiful, strong women. I will just say this too, because since it's International Women's Day, I am in a course that is womb healing. Oh, y'all, this work is so moving and so hard. But if you have an opportunity to take a womb healing course, or to even just Google it and see what comes up if you've never dipped your toe into it, it's very, very, very powerful work. Yeah. So I'm going to sign off, but before I sign off, I just want to make sure that everybody's okay. Everybody's feeling safe. We had some intense conversations today. You have to go. Take care. Yes, you too, Melody. Hope to see you soon. Thank you. Heart back for you. Okay. Is everybody feeling okay? We're feeling all right? Okay, awesome. Feeling great. Have a wonderful day. Yes, you too, Fairy House. I hope that you're feeling well physically too. Thank you for being here. Honeybee says this has been healing. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. It's healing for me too, right? We heal in community and relationship to one another. So thank you for hanging out. Jeffrey, if you're still over there on YouTube, thank you. All right. I will see you all Monday for Music Theory Monday. Okay. Bye, everybody. Take care.